Welcome to the Catholic Life Coach Podcast. My name is Carla Fitz. I'm a certified life coach, wife, and mom of two beautiful little girls and a handsome little boy. My hope for this podcast is to support and empower other Catholic women to live their most authentic life, to share life coaching tools from a Catholic perspective in order to help you live a more fulfilling and aligned life filled with peace, joy, and abundance. Let's get started. Hello, my loves, and welcome. I am doing officially my last episode here in France. I don't know if I said that in the last episode, but by the time this episode comes out, we're actually going to be in Assisi, which I'm so excited because it's an opportunity for us to be in the town and get things situated for the retreat in November, which I am so excited. If you guys have not heard about the retreat yet, go and apply. It's going to be so good. There's only a few spots left, and I'm just so excited and so looking forward to that opportunity to host 5 of you in Assisi, give you amazing rooms, beautiful views, amazing food, beautiful community, and lots of coaching and retreat opportunity and pilgrimage opportunity. I'm just really excited about the whole thing. But as I am here in France, I have had such an amazing time and just so blessed to have been able to go to visit such holy people. This past week, we had the opportunity to go to Lisieux to visit St. Thérèse of Lisieux. And it was beautiful, you guys. That town is so green, so stunning. We got to the train station, and the first thing that we saw was the basilica of St. Thérèse of Lisieux, which is breathtaking. And as we are walking up, we just are left with no breath, literally, because we were going up the hill, but also because it's just so beautiful. There's so much greenery in that town, and it's just very solemn and just peaceful and stunning. But truly being there was a call to be present with the little things. We got to go to her basilica, then we got to go to the smaller church where she's buried and be in front of the statue that it's right there looking at you. Well, she's asleep in the statue, but you get the point. It was very powerful to be where she's buried. And then we actually got to go to her house, the house that she grew up in, house that they moved to after her mother, Saint Zelly, had died. And she had so many experiences in this home. That was the home in which she was healed and received a miracle with a Smiling Mary. And it was a home where she felt the very first call in her heart to do charity work and to give her heart to Jesus. It was the home in which she told her father she wanted to become a nun. And it was in that home that she got inspired to write the things she wrote. While we were there, we got to sit down by ourselves in the garden that she grew up in, and seeing around, seeing all the flowers, seeing all the trees was just an unreal experience, because in that moment I realized, of course, she wrote about us being part of a garden. Not every flower looks the same, not every flower is the same kind of beauty as the others, but each one of them adds to the beauty as a whole. And I think for all of us, this is so true. Not all of us have the same dreams. Not all of us have the same gifts. Not all of us have the same beauty. Not all of us have the same sense of humor. We're all very, very different, but as a whole, we add to this amazing, beautiful world that God gave us to live into. And as a whole, and this is why I think it's so important to think about ourselves as part of this amazing church that we belong into and have a sense of community and not being by ourselves, right? Because when we are in this community of like-minded, strong Catholic women, we all end up uplifting each other rather than feeling kind of secluded and alone. I think in this day and age that we live in a world that feels very secluded. There's so much social media and so much connection, but in human connection, there is not a lot of that. And especially when you are a Catholic woman, if you are not in the right place with the right type of women, you end up feeling kind of alone. You end up feeling like, wait, maybe I'm the only one that thinks this way. And I cannot tell you, in this path of becoming the Catholic life coach and meeting other people and having these interviews with other Catholic women, and now hosting the retreat, which is, by the way, is one of the reasons why I really, really felt called to creating a retreat, an in-person retreat, and especially in Assisi, is to do it in a place where uplifts our hearts, and having being able to stay in the monastery that is so beautifully decorated just adds to the beauty of Assisi and our experience of our faith and going to church and stuff. But not just that, but it's the opportunity to do it with other women and do it in a community where you can literally feel the love for each other and the support that you will give to each other. That to me is absolutely priceless, and something that I found a lot in life coaching. I found it in my community, in the life coach side of the deal, but adding the community to with women who share my faith is just something else, because each one of us, although different businesses, some of us are coaches, multiple coaches that are Catholic, but we have different niches and all of that. As a whole, when we come together, so much can be added when you bring like-minded women together. And for me, experiencing this garden in St. Therese's house was a gift that I cannot even put into words. There was so much peace, so much beauty surrounding me. This beautiful home that was used to raise loving, kind, saintly women. It was just another experience that I had yet to experience. And I'm so grateful that God brought us to France. And this is part of the journey of really trusting His guidance. To be fully honest, when we got to Assisi in Italy, we were just like, I don't want to leave. I want to just stay here, period. I don't want to go to France. And I am so glad that I reminded myself and that God reminded me that He's in charge. Like, we wanted to do this pilgrimage following His lead. And I think this is something that we all need to do with our lives. We need to learn to follow His lead rather than trying to lead ourselves, because every time we lead, we end up hitting ourselves with the walls rather than being in flow and letting Him do His work. But I wanted to share this too because after we went to the house and experienced that particular moment, we got to go the next day back to the basilica and walk around the basilica. So if you've ever seen it, you will know what I'm talking about. But if you've never seen the basilica, even in pictures, I don't think I ever noticed this. It has a surrounding of like a forest all around it and lots of trees. And right now is in the middle of spring and it's just so beautiful. And you can walk around the basilica to go to the back of the basilica. And as I am going there, I'm walking and we get to the back of the basilica and there are two tombs there. You guys, I had no idea that this was there. I have been led to these two saints for a while now. And in that moment, I get there, I see these two tombs, and it's Saint Sally and Saint Louis. Saint Therese's parents are buried right behind her basilica, which took my breath away. I started sobbing like nobody's business back there. And seriously was like, people were around me, did not care. I was just sobbing because I felt so much gratitude to be able to be there. I was truly very disappointed when I found out that the house that Saint Therese was raised and was born in was not in Lisieux, which I should have known that, but I did not. And I was really disappointed because I was not going to get to see Saint Sally, which I had fallen in love with very deeply in the last few months. But I was surprised. And it reminded me of how important it is to let ourselves be surprised. Even when we think things are not going right and we're like, wait, this is not what I planned, but God, I really wanted to see St. Sally and be able to be there. They had relics of St. Sally in and St. Louis in the Basilica of St. Thérèse of Lisieux, and then they were buried behind. I'm like, are you kidding me? So it was in that moment that I realized that God doesn't need me to do everything. He needs me to show up and say yes, and then he figures it out. And I think it's so important for us to remember this lesson because when we let ourselves be led by him, let him do his thing, and we follow and we trust and we participate in the miracles, God ends up surprising us and leaving us hints of so much love as we go along. So, anyhow, experiencing that moment and being with these two saints in St. Therese of Lisieux there was just wow, something else. But something else clicked in my mind while I was there too. It was the grandness of this basilica, and also the grandness and strength and example that St. Therese of Lisieux has become for so many of us. But she did not do it alone. She did not say, okay, I'm going to be this like awesome woman and done. She trusted God's version of that, but her desire was there from the very beginning. One of the phrases that I love from Saint Therese was she kept saying, like, I have this desire to be a priest, right? Like, of course she wasn't gonna be a priest in this lifetime. Like that's not a thing for her. But she still had the desire because her desire was pure, which was to be close to Jesus. She wanted to be as close as possible to the Eucharist and with him. And her desire came true in the perfect way, which was uniting herself to Jesus in the moment, all her life, and then in death, right? And then the other thing that struck me is she has a desire that she shares in her one of her books that is, I want to be a doctor of the church, which you guys, that is not a small dream. Like that is like as big as it gets. But a lot of the people around her didn't think she could do much. And she's such an example of what I talk about, which is letting God do the miracles he wants to do through us. Being behind this basilica and having experience where she is buried, having experienced her home, she was a regular girl. I think we tend to think of the saints as like perfect people. And Saint Therese got cranky. She has stories in which she's like, "Oh my goodness, this sister was driving me crazy." Right? She had human moments, but she had big desires in her heart that she allowed God to make manifest in the world the way He wanted to, and the way He wanted to was way bigger than she could have ever imagined. And I know she imagined a lot, and I know that she trusted a lot. And I know in all of her stories, you hear her trust in God like, I can't, but He can. Why not? He can do everything, He can do anything. She is such a beautiful example. And Saint Sally, too, for those of you who do not know much of Saint Sally had a business and that was very very successful. They were wealthy. They were a wealthy family, and her husband left his job to work for her in her business to grow her business together, and they had such a strong marriage. And they for me are a big example because as I participate in this miracle that I call my job that has been flowing, that has been growing in with God's graces and by God's miracles and God's provision, as I am participating in all of this and as I see it grow right in front of my very eyes, my husband is participating in this too. And there's nothing I want more than to have an amazing, strong marriage with my husband. But I also am a businesswoman. God called me into this life of being a business owner, a mom, a wife, a Catholic woman. And this is the reason why I want to be an example, but I also want to support each one of you that has a big dream in your heart, but is so scared of stepping into it. I, for one, can honestly say that I feared stepping into being a businesswoman and making money and making offers and selling and all the things. Like all of those things terrified me so much. But I know that God called me to do this. He put the desire in my heart to own this business. Well, to kind of own it because, he's the CEO, he's my boss. And to do it with my husband by my side. It is not easy, but it's a moment that allows us to grow closer to him as we step into this journey. And for those of you who have a same desire or a similar desire to have strong marriages, be strong mothers, and be a business owner, my loves, pray to Saint Sally and Saint Louis. They are an example of this lifestyle. And I cannot tell you how much I love them. Anyhow, I hope that you take all of this and allow yourself to participate in the miracles. Allow yourself to say yes and allow yourself to enjoy the little things, because it is in the little things that God transforms our lives. All right, my loves, I'm sending you so much love, and until next time, God bless. Thank you so much for listening. If you are ready to dive deeper into creating an aligned life with God at the center of it all, I want to invite you to a one-on-one consultation call with me. This is your chance to explore what is possible for you and to take the next step towards living with more clarity, peace, and joy. Sign up today. The link is in the description. I also want to invite you to leave a review if you have been enjoying these episodes, and make sure to share it with a friend. That way God can reach more and more amazing Catholic women. All right, until next time, God bless.